Hello, you're watching Economic Stories, and I'm your narrator. Don't forget to leave a like and hit subscribe if you enjoy the video. Let's get started. Imagine living in a country that owns more oil than Saudi Arabia. Theoretically, you should be rich enough to use crude oil as shampoo. But in reality, this isn't Wakanda. This is a place where your salary evaporates faster than a toxicity warning on a dating app. People rush to spend money the second it hits their account. Not for a Birkin bag, but because waiting a week means that cash won't even buy a single bagel. This isn't ancient Roman history. This happened while you were binge-watching Netflix, an economy collapsing from the inside without a single bullet fired. In the United States, Venezuela is just a scary political slogan, but slogans are useless. We need to look at the mechanics of collapse. Why did this engine blow up? Rewind to the 20th century. Venezuela looked like a total trust fund baby. Oil was discovered, and money flooded in like a broken fire hydrant. At one point, Venezuelans were richer than the Spanish or Italians. They had sky-high GDP per capita, living that South American main character energy. The middle class expanded. The Bolivar was respected. People flew to Miami for weekend shopping sprees like it was nothing. Everything was Gucci. But beneath that gloss was a fatal structural flaw, a bug in the source code that nobody bothered to patch. Venezuela didn't build wealth, it just distributed oil revenue, like winning the lottery and quitting your job the very next day. Everything depended on oil exports. High prices? Party time. Low prices? Instant ramen diet. The literal definition of putting all your eggs in one basket. Instead of investing oil money in tech or farming, Venezuela used it to subsidize consumption. Why grow rice when you can just Amazon Prime it from abroad? This created a nation that consumed like a developed economy but produced like a fragile one, a recipe for absolute disaster. Economists call this Dutch disease. Resources boom, currency strengthens too much, killing all other exports. A self-destruct mechanism in disguise. As long as oil prices stayed high, no one questioned the system. Mistake number one, thinking the good times last forever. Spoiler alert, they don't. 1,999. Hugo Chavez takes power. He inherited this oil-addicted system, and instead of sending it to rehab, he doubled the dosage. The government launched massive social programs. Poverty reduction, healthcare, education. In the short term, it worked great. Who doesn't love free stuff? Poverty fell. Inequality declined. Politically, Chavez became a total rock star. Stands everywhere. But economically, the country became as fragile as a snowflake. Why? Because it was all funded by oil money, not actual productivity. No new industries were built. Government spending went to the moon, but economic output was walking on the ground. When you spend more than you make, deficits appear, and deficits have to be financed. This is Finance 101, folks. At first, oil covered the gap. But when spending kept rising, the government turned to the central bank and said, "Yo, fire up the printer, bro." That's when money printing accelerated. The literal money printer go brr moment in history. Why not print money to pay debt? Because money is debt. Printing more IOUs just makes the IOU worthless. It's a loop. Here's what most people miss. Hyperinflation was not the beginning of the crisis. It was the end stage, the final boss. Long before hyperinflation, Venezuela had chronic inflation. Prices rose year after year, even during oil booms. A massive red flag. Inflation wasn't bad luck. It was a system using money creation to avoid political pain, using duct tape to fix a Hoover Dam leak. Inflation changes behavior. People stop saving, they spend like there's no tomorrow, forced YOLO mindset. That erosion of trust is invisible until it isn't. Faith in the future just evaporates. At this point, you might think, okay, everyone has inflation, even the US true, but how Venezuela tried to cure it is what killed the patient. To protect people, the government imposed price controls. Milk, meds, toilet paper. It sounded compassionate, very healing energy. In reality, it broke the supply chain. When prices are forced below cost, producers cannot survive. Farmers stop planting. Manufacturers quit. Supply collapses, demand doesn't. Result? Shelves emptier than your soul on a Monday morning. Enter the bachaqueros, people who queued all day to buy state-subsidized flour, then resold it right outside for 5 times the price. Shortages create black markets. The same toilet paper reappears, sold unofficially at 10 times the price. Congrats, you just played the market and lost. Americans have seen the light version of this with rent controls. Venezuela decided to do it with the entire economy. Go big or go home, right? As inflation rose, the government pegged the bolivar to the dollar, artificially, like me declaring I'm as handsome as Brad Pitt. The market disagreed. A massive gap formed between official and black market rates. If you had connections, you bought cheap dollars, flipped them, and made bank. Infinite money glitch. This created a system where corruption wasn't an accident. It was built in. The whole economy turned into a rigged casino. Foreign currency drained out like bathwater. Imports collapsed. Production fell. Inflation accelerated again. A complete death spiral. Then came 2014. Global oil prices collapsed. For Venezuela, this wasn't just bad news. It was a catastrophe. The vibe check from hell. Revenue evaporated. Faced with cutting, spending, or printing money, the government chose the easy way out. They smashed the print button. That pushed Venezuela into hyperinflation. Prices didn't rise monthly, they rose hourly. Morning coffee cost $1. By afternoon, it was $2. Inflation got so bad, people stopped counting cash. They weighed it. Give me 2 kilos of money for some bananas. Absurd, yet true. Money stopped functioning. People wove handbags out of cash because the bills were cheaper than regular paper. Total collapse. U.S. sanctions didn't create the crisis, but they hardened it. Like pouring gasoline on a dumpster fire, it blocked access to capital. As the bolivar collapsed, people turned to the dollar. It stabilized prices but divided society. Those with dollars survived. Those without fell behind. The state lost monetary control entirely, like driving a car and the steering wheel just comes off in your hands. Good luck with that. Desperate, they launched Petro, a crypto backed by oil. But trust was gone. It was basically a nation-state level rug pull. Economic collapse turned humanitarian. Hospitals lacked meds. Fridges lacked food. Malnutrition became real. Millions fled. Venezuela didn't just lose money. It lost people, skills, and future growth. A massive brain drain. This migration wave hammered Colombia and Brazil. It wasn't just Venezuela's problem anymore. It was a geopolitical domino effect. So what does this mean for Americans? No, the US isn't Venezuela. Don't panic yet. But the US faced inflation in the 70s. We took the bitter pill. Sky-high interest rates. Painful, but necessary to save the patient. By 2024, Venezuela stabilized slightly by accepting the dollar, but the foundation is still weak, a fake recovery. The biggest lesson isn't about oil, it's about trust. Money only works because people believe it holds value. Markets work because institutions enforce rules. Prosperity lasts only when discipline outlives politics. Venezuela didn't collapse because of one leader. It collapsed because bad incentives were repeated until trust broke. Don't let politicians run the money printer. Central banks need to be independent, like a referee in the World Cup final. And you can't order the market around. Price controls are like fighting gravity. You will faceplant. That's the warning. No system is immune to erosion when short-term comfort replaces long-term discipline. History doesn't repeat itself exactly. But it rhymes. And Venezuela is one rhyme Americans would be wise to understand. What do you think? Are we making the same mistakes? Comment below and smash that like button if you hate inflation. Wait, don't click off. One more crazy fact. At one point, robbers in Venezuela would dump the cash and just steal the wallet. The wallet was worth more. Here is the bread you get for 1,000 bolivars in 2000, and here is 2018. It's smaller than my patience. But Venezuelans are resilient. They still smile, still live. A reminder of human strength. Finally, knowledge is power. Don't be a victim of bad policy. Learn finance today.